Hi, continuing on our beamforming explorations involving Wi-Fi and 5G cellular. This is part 3. Focus is going to be on the feedback that is required to make the beamforming effective. We want to clear the air on some of the points raised in courses and so on. My name is Shrikant and I'm with NanoCell Networks. One of the common themes in beamforming across, let's say, Wi-Fi and 5G is that the beamformee, which is the receiver of the beamform transmission, typically sends feedback prior to the beamform transmission to the transmitter, called as the beamformer. And this feedback can be quite detailed. For example, in Wi-Fi, it is extremely detailed, consuming a lot of bandwidth. In the case of cellular, there are options, some very detailed, some light detail, and with some, in the case of cellular, the options also include some ability to send some kind of feedback on the analog type of beams that might be employed. Okay. So this is critical because without this channel state information, the transmitter is really not going to be able to do either the digital or the analog beamforming or the combination, which is the typical general thing that one should keep in mind. Okay. At the same time, the channel state information should not cause hopefully too much overhead that we lose the benefits of doing this beamforming. So this has been kept in mind in, I would say, both Wi-Fi and 5G to a certain extent, with differences primarily arising out of the fact that one is an unlicensed band where the spectral efficiency concerns are not that high compared to, say, cellular, where the spectral efficiency is paramount. If you take Wi-Fi in the latest Wi-Fi 6 specification, they have introduced mechanism by which an access point, which acts as a beamformer, can get feedback from multiple users in one shot by sending a sounding frame. A sounding frame is like some kind of an, you can say, a hello packet, which helps the receivers to measure the channel and share the channel state information. Okay. And of course, what is shared as CSI is very detailed in the case of Wi-Fi, does consume a lot of bandwidth, especially as you go to more sophisticated systems like, say, 4x4, or in some case, the future 8x8 kind of systems. Okay. As I said, it basically contains all the channel information at a very deep level, which involves the multipath, etc. What about cellular? Cellular, being a little careful about this whole feedback, has allowed the specification of what you call as a code book, at least with related to a feedback, a pre-coding code book, so that the receiver can just point out to the beam in terms of the code book index. That's how it started in 4G, and 5G continues that option. However, in 5G, we also have additional options where multiple beams whose combination could be used for serving a user, or the information sent could be used to schedule what is called as multi-user MIMO, can all be done. Okay. And typically, to get this feedback in cellular, reference signals like channel state information reference signals are sent, and these are configured for a bunch of users so that the overhead of sending this can be amortized over multiple users, just like the NDP that we just saw. Okay. So cellular, I would say, has a little bit more, you can say, spectrally efficient way of getting feedback for doing the digital beamforming. And to support the potential analog beamforming which might be combined with this, operations like choosing preformed beams, operation where you can steer a particular beam to user by asking them to report not on the channel but the strengths of the beams maybe the top 3 beams, etc., can reduce the overhead, point out to, let's say, one level of coarse beam forming which might be realized by analog, and then one can go into a deeper digital beam forming context. Okay, so in summary, feedback is a very important part of beam forming, and the feedback can involve very deep channel feedback. Okay, especially for digital beam forming, you do need deep channel feedback. Okay, you cannot do RSSI, SNR kind of feedback, so you need deep channel feedback, and you don't want to spend a lot of overhead on sending this. So it's very important that we evaluate the feedback versus the overhead. And I think Cellular spends a lot more time on optimizing this simply because we are in a license spectrum where things have to be handled carefully. Cellular has also brought in mechanisms where the combination of analog plus digital beamforming can be done much more effectively, and so feedback mechanisms to help with achieving this are also included in the standards. So for more information, please see our website. We also offer courses through Wi-Fi Now Academy. Thank you.